For more information and to join the conversation, please visit Armed American Radio on Facebook and armedamericanradio.com. And now, from the Crossbreed Holster Studios, here is Mark Walters.
That's right, in these Crossbreed Holster Studios. How you doing? Glad you're sticking around with us. It's been a dynamite program so far, a very important program so far, on the heels of the lies from the President of the United States. Predictable, but disturbing nonetheless. Larry Pratt is locked into our phones. Let's go directly to Larry Pratt. You know him as the Executive Director of the Gun Owners of America. Larry, welcome to the show. Hey, it was great having dinner with you last week in Phoenix. Enjoyed it.
I like those conferences. It gives us that opportunity, so something to look forward to each year.
It really is. Let me get right into this with you. We've got shortened time. Here's my basic idea here is that I believe that the words confiscation are getting ready to come out. I think the gun prohibitionists are at their wits' end. They're hysterical right now. Their vaunted background checks are an utter failure. The nation is seeing that. Mass murderers are passing the background checks that they're calling for. I think the country is onto it at this point in time, at least a vast majority, and I think it won't be long that we hear them start uncloaking themselves and telling us what they really want. The president now, for the second time, has done just that by invoking England and Australia as what he wants America to emulate. Your thoughts, do you think I'm right?
Well, I think the president would like to go in that direction. I'm hopeful that he's not going to have too many politicians that have to stand for election that are going to go with him, because right. I think a lot of politicians have been learning from our Second Amendment community that you really don't want to mess with gun owners. I think, have the advantage of all of the different groups that have a particular interest they're defending, that we actually own the item in question. It's something very tangible and very personal, and even though many of us own firearms for the real reason of the Second Amendment, which is to protect ourselves against tyranny, they have the definite collateral advantage of being able to protect us from garden variety thugs who may not have a badge on them at the time they attack. So there's just everything very much more intense about firearms than there is about any other issue I can think of that motivates politicians to listen to their constituents. They know that when gun owners talk to them, there's something underneath there they better not mess with.
They know they need to listen. I'm not real worried. Let me clarify. I'm not real worried about the politicians. I think the Democrat Party has, I say uncloaked, they've uncloaked themselves. This is a progressive, liberal, socialist machine now. When I saw Barack Obama's speech after Oregon, there was no doubt in my mind that he was, in fact, shaken up. He was, in fact, angry, and he believed what he said, but not for the reasons Americans think, Larry. He's only upset and ticked off that he can't get anybody's guns because of that pesky parchment paper. If he was, in fact, concerned about crime, he'd be having that same conversation on the bully pulpit every single day regarding Chicago's numbers. They need us to complete their agenda. They need to disarm America. They can't do it. Isn't that what's really got him fired up?
I think you're right. And certainly he doesn't react the way a lot of people were reacting. I think that they were definitely remorseful. They were saddened. They were horrified at what had happened. And as you say, I think he was ticked that here's a crisis that's going to go to waste.
Right, exactly. This is something, it's absolutely correct. This is another one that I'm trying to exploit that's going to fail, and he's making that impassioned plea. Look, to you and I, we know what it means when he says Australia and England. Now, he also made the statement, he says, these are countries just like us. And I'm sitting there pulling my hair out. I'm yelling at the TV, getting yelled at in return, saying either record it, don't watch it, you're either going to have a heart attack, and I don't want you to break my TV. But when I hear him say these things, and he says, then he caps it off with, they're just like us. No, they're not just like us. He wants us to be just like them.
Well, we're not the docile subjects of a crown that those folks unhappily are. Not quite so much the Australians, but they're still part of the British Commonwealth. And definitely the people of England, they don't call themselves citizens. They're subjects. And that makes a big difference in how we look at government.
And it makes a big difference about how Barack Obama looks at us when that's what he wants to emulate. That would make him the king. And that's a fascinating topic.
That's right. He could have had so much more power if he'd been born in some other country. What was he luck to be born an American?
Well, that's good news for us. But I believe, Larry, I wish listeners could hear some of the conversations we have when we do sit around the table over some roast beef and horseradish.
There's another thing that I was struck by. Here you have a state with the lowest number of churches, the highest number of atheists, and yet the response was overwhelming from a Christian community. And they came together. They're gun owners, but they also don't look at the world the way the president does. And their compassion and their willingness to reach out to the victims was so totally different.
Right.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's a great point.
He's just so out of touch with the country that he rules.
Yeah, that's a great point. We're going to touch on the Christian aspect of this with Kevin Starrett from, as you know, from Oregon Firearms Federation in the next hour.
Oh, excellent.
A lot to discuss with him. You're welcome to stick around if you'd like to jump in the conversation. I know you've been doing a lot of media, but I'll throw that out there live. You can make that decision at the top of the hour.
If I can get back, I will, but I've got something else going on. But thank you for letting me know.
Sure thing. Well, we'll be talking with you again very soon. We'll close out the hour with you. We've got a couple more minutes. I had mentioned that I wasn't really worried about the politicians. The politicians are going to hear it. They're more concerned about their own individual power than they are about anything else. Where I'm talking about uncloaking themselves, Larry, I think, are the lower levels who are out making the media, who are out on, taking on C.W. Cook from National Review, who, when faced with the answers, get angry and they wind up resorting to that. Well, what's wrong with everybody having health care? Or we've got to do something. Those are the people that from time to time slip up and tell us what their real agenda is. Now, they get scolded from the top. But I think you're going to start seeing confiscation come out of their mouths soon because everything else that they've hung their hat on and are spending Bloomberg's billions on is failing. At some point, they're going to have to say, yeah, you're right.
Well, in a perverse way, I almost hope they do because I think that will hasten their demise.
That's exactly what I said in the last segment. I want them to do it. When we corner these people with the truth, and we say, okay, well, you got your background check in Washington. Congratulations with 594 passing. Hey, congratulations in Oregon, New York, Connecticut. How's that working out for you?
Exactly right. They are nothing but the stewards of failure, and it's getting more and more difficult to deny. I mean, right. Even the media, which is, of course, just one of the divisions of the anti-gun left, they're just not able to cover for them as effectively because people are looking at...
People are onto it.
Yeah, they're onto it, exactly.
Hey, Larry, thank you for calling in. We appreciate it. I know how busy you've been. Armed American Radio. We'll talk with you later in the week. Maybe we can get you on the Daily Defense program. You can follow me on Twitter at AARMark, and we'll let you know. Thanks, Larry. Gun Owners of America. Head over to gunowners.org.